Good morning. Good morning, morning, morning. Hey, you are listening to Car Musings, and I'm your host, Mad Morgan. How's everybody doing today? In my case, happy Friday, TGIF, but I'm not sure what day it is when you're listening to this, but most likely it's either a Monday or a Thursday. Anyways, how is everybody? What's new and shaking, bacon? It's been a good week, summing things off. Has it been a good week? Have you did your due diligence of goodness? Have you done your due diligence of being a productive member of society? That's the question of the day. Because the thing is that we all got to do what we all got to do. We do, we do, we do. So so far, a lot going on, and it's funny when you actually sit down. And I guess today it's just a matter of finding solutions. And recently, I've come across noticing that there are solutions for problems if you take a second and plan them out and think it out. Do some research, you know? And I guess that's what we want to talk about today, that there's no problem is too big that you can't actually work it through. I mean, at first glance, a lot of problems seem to be big. But if you tear it down into little bite-sized pieces, it's a different story. Hey, before I get into that, check out themadmorgan.com for more information on our shows and helpful resources and everything else that are there. And also, feel free to reach out to us. We have a contact method there. You can reach out, talk to us, and ask us questions and comments and concerns. Also, please check out our support section if you are so inclined. Either tell people about the show, share the show, or make some donations if you are within the means. That would be awesome. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. So let's get into today's show, today's car musings. So problems in life, right? Now, a lot of people, when there's problems that happen, at first glance, we get that shock value, right? That's like, oh, that shock value. And the thing is that it's difficult when you see something in its grand design and in the big sense of the picture. But if you break it down a bit, think about it, and actually do the working out of the math, problems, as much as they might seem overwhelming to begin with, are not, they're not unmanageable. You can manage them. You can actually work them out. And I know for a fact, I mean, let me tell you, I got a lot of obstacles that have been happening in the last 2 years with everything that I got going on my side of things. Like most people do, Even Mad Morgan has problems, So I'm looking at it going, okay, it sucks. The situation sucks. There's a problem. There's an obstacle. But if we just wave that white flag and surrender, excuse me, hey, if we wave the white flag and surrender, what are we going to accomplish? We're not going to accomplish anything. We're just not. You know, that's not going to get a solution to the problem. It's just going to be, the problem's still going to exist, and we would have just, you know, given up on it because, oh, it's too much work, or it's too much this, too much that. But that's not helping us move forward with solutions. That's not helping us evolve. That's not helping us tackle the situation at hand and, you know, um, make it better. It's just, there is a solution to every problem. We just have to sit back and actually think about it, break it down into bite-sized pieces. I mean, think about any situation. Okay, you lose your job, it sucks. You know, uh, you go in debt, it sucks. You break up with somebody in a relationship, it sucks. But is it the end all be all? No, it's not. Because guess what? There's going to be other jobs. Debts can be overcome. Work harder, budget, make a better plan. And relationships come and go. Generally, when it was a failed relationship, a lot of people put the blame on them. Generally, it's not the person that's being hurt. It's usually the other side that's the fault. But not always. Just pick yourself up and move forward. Just say, you know what? That sucks. Lick my wounds, move forward. I mean, look at the world stage. What's worse is when you're down and out and you got these problems, and you feel so helpless that you can't do anything about it, right? You feel like your hands are tied, like, oh, I don't have the ability to do anything about that, you know. So those situations do suck because they're problems that are bigger than you that you can't really do much about, but they still exist. Look at the world stage. I look at that going, okay, that sucks. That really does suck, and I want to do something about that. Problem is, what can you do about it? Your hands are tied. You can't really do much about it, but it's still a problem. How do you break that into bite-sized pieces, Matt Morgan? Well, this is what I do. I look at it, I think about it. You can pray against it. My thing is manifestation. Manifest against it, right? But be careful about your thoughts because you got evil thoughts, it comes back to you. You got good thoughts, it comes back to you. But you just got to find that balancing point where, you basically are smart about your thinking processes, and you can do something on a universal scale of things as long as you do exactly that. Doing extreme measures becomes a statistic. Like, if you don't like the political scene and you go out and blow yourself up in the front lawn of a Capitol building, that's stupid. That's going to make you a statistic, and people are just going to go, "What? Remember that crazy person?" Blah blah blah. That's not beneficial. That's not going to do anything. So do things under the radar. Be like a ninja, right? Be like a ninja and manifest. All right, which is basically just focusing on how you would want a solution to a problem and positive outcome and a change. And if more people do this, I know people are like, oh, it's like hocus pocus, blah, 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 whatever. Believe it or not, the world works on energies, whether you choose to believe it or not. And your thought processes are energy. So if you are steadfast and you stick to it, you can actually influence things around you on a minuscule scale, but enough people do it, you can actually influence the outcome. This is why I'm always saying there's a domino effect with things. Why we're all connected, because it is a domino effect. If we all start thinking in a certain way, we can actually change things. The greater the numbers, the more of an impact, right? So if you think right, if you think positive, you can definitely have more of an outcome. You can definitely be more beneficial to the world as a whole. And the more people that do it thinking in a positive way, the more of an outcome you can have that is actually going to be beneficial for everybody. You know? And that's why I say domino effect. We are all connected, my friends. We are all connected, whether or not we choose to identify that or not. We are all connected, and our thoughts can be connected too. So if we all start thinking of a better world out there, one with less crime and hate and inequality and blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm not trying to minimize it seriousness, but I could go on about all the bad things. If we, excuse me, wipe this morning. If we all focus on the positive, abolishing money, abolishing inequality, abolishing our differences, abolishing quote unquote racism, which that's still a really bad word, like racism. We're part of the human race. We're all part of the human race. How is it racism when different melatonin in the skin should not dictate race. You should be skinism, like like melatonism, like So that's a topic for another episode. So back to the problems things. You can influence, but remember, there's a checks and balances, right? There's a checks and balances. Be mindful of your thoughts. Like if you start putting negative out there, it does come back to you. Unfortunately, there are some people that manipulate the checks and balances, and you really hope that, as evil as they are, because your actions are another thing, as evil as that they are, they get smacked sooner versus later. But don't fall into that trap where you end up paying more than you should when it comes to balancing stuff out. I've trust me, there are people I have met over the years that deserve a smack across the head, and frankly, a nice deep hole would be good for them too. But it's not the way it is, and you just have to, as I said, suck it up, move forward. That's all you can do. That's a problem. There are some people that are problems, but you can't be extreme about it. Because when it all comes down to it, if you have any direct hand to, seeking any sort of vengeance on people that you perceive as being a problem, then it ends up costing you, unfortunately. It's weird how that works, right? Like, for instance, in Canada, law is stupid. You can commit violent crimes and you're released within 2 weeks. It's a failed system. It's got to be fixed. Unfortunately, I think there's too much forgiveness when it comes to the judicial system, especially if you have a history and you're a career criminal. I think you should be pretty much locked up and the key thrown away. Again, topic for another show. But don't be one of those people where you don't have the decisions. You still have the decisions. Yes, you have problems, 99 problems. But the thing is that you can still find a solution. As long as you have your freedoms, you can find a solution. And I'm not talking selfish, self-serving solutions. I'm talking about just find a solution to your problem. No matter how big, no matter how small, there is a solution. Just sit back, look at the big picture, and go, okay, what exactly is my problem? What exactly is bugging me? Why do I find this as being an issue? Because if you actually sit back objectively, you realize that there are some occasions where it's really not a problem. You just made it into be a problem. You just made it out to be a problem. And then, of course, you made it to be a bigger problem. But it really isn't, right? You got to really think about how much does this affect your life? And how much does it affect those people that matter to you? This is stuff that you really have to wrap your head around. In the greater scheme of things, is this a problem that I could just shove away in a drawer for a bit? Because if it is, it's not a big problem. It's a small problem. It's one of those, I'll worry about it. But careful, because some problems have deadlines, which I've recently realized that one of my little problems that I shoved in a drawer actually had a deadline. And until I got, excuse me, wow, I am wiped this morning. Until I actually sat down and actually take a look at it, did I realize that I kind of created my own big problem. So that's another thing to be careful about. These little problems, little inconveniences, yeah, okay, they suck. They do. But take a full note of the problem before you shove it in a drawer, right? Just take a good look at the problem before you shove it anywhere, because it might be time sensitive. And if it's not that big of an issue, it's going to affect your life, then worry about it some other time. Deal with the big problems, but take a good objective look at them in the whole. And again, ask yourself, how much of an effect is this having on me? How big of a deal is it? Is it something that truly does affect my life? Is it truly something that is, monumental, that I have to address it? Or is it just your butt hurt, or your emotions are hurt, or, something silly because it's actually trivial and there's no reason for you to be upset about it, but you just are, because you feel you need to be? Is it really a problem? Probably not, right? Probably not. You can't let all the problems get to you, especially stuff that, unless you go extreme, you can't really deal with. You just have to, sit there and go, okay, yeah, that's a problem. Can I do anything about it? No. I guess that's kind of one of those, look at the issue. Yeah, is it a problem? Is it truly a problem? How big of a problem is it? Okay. Can I do anything about it right now? No, yes. Kind of like an and or type situation. What can I do about it? What steps can I take to resolve it? You know, what are my options? But waving your hands up and surrendering and not doing anything about it is really not going to solve it any quicker. You know, I mean, you'll notice with some of my episodes, I do bitch and complain about stuff because, yeah, it sucks. I'm waiting for a break. We all have those situations. Well, not all of them, but some of us have those situations where, we live good lives, we live by the rules, we live with integrity, and yet we're still shit on. We don't understand why. Giving up's not a solution, though. Giving up is not going to get you further ahead to your objective. But what is going to get you further to your objective? Right? What is going to get you further to your objective? Are you going to, can you succeed? Yes, you can succeed. Yes, you can find a solution. Yes, you can have a better life. You just have to figure out the best path to go about getting there. Right? The best path for you in a greater scheme of things rather than doing anything extreme. What's the best path? Unfortunately, there's a lot of ignorant and arrogant people in this world. And I know it's really difficult when you're doing everything right and all these other people are doing all the stupid, wrong things, and you wonder, shit, maybe I should just do that. Maybe I should just be an asshole like they are. Maybe I should just be self-serving, greedy, selfish, all that stuff. Because they seem to be doing better at it than I am. But that's just tearing away at the fabric of the world, and creating more problems for everybody. Forget about your own problems. Just compile all this negativity and it creates other problems. And it works for some people. It works for some people. I mean, I really do hope that at the end of it all, that there is a scale and there is a judgment. Like how these books actually state that it is, and you're going to be judged and rewarded and blah 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 blah. I really do hope that is something that's a reality, that it does actually be something, because I would be sitting there laughing my ass off for some of these people, laughing my ass off when they actually, at the end of it all, realize that, shit, maybe I shouldn't have been such a selfish prick. Oh yeah, maybe I should have been a better person. Maybe I should have did this. I'm not looking for points in the afterlife. For myself personally, I'm looking for points now, in the sense that I'm looking, at the end of the day, resting my head knowing that I was a good person and I did good things. That's what it comes down to. Forget about the aftermath. Give me the here and now. You think that you're going to be forgiven? You're not going to be fucking forgiven. Because at the end of it all, I think somebody said, you're going to be forgotten shortly after you're gone. And that's not something I want. I want people to remember my name in a positive, constructive way. Be one of those people that are still talked about 100 years after my passing because of my contributions and how positive they were. Hell yeah, it's something I want. Remember that Matt Morgan guy? Holy crap, was he ahead of his time. Look at the contributions he gave. Look at the stuff he did. Why didn't we take him seriously? Why didn't we take him with value back when he was around? You know? Why? But you're still talking about me. Like I've always said, the day you die is the day that, you know, people stop, your name stops going through people's mouths and they stop talking about you. Because there are people that will be footnotes in history, and you know, you got to ask yourself if that's what you want. Giving into your problems and not sorting them out, you know, that's not going to help you get further to your objective. Me, I want to think about my legacy. I'm still trying to build my legacy. Having kids doesn't build a legacy. That's just selfishness, especially if you name your kids after you in one variation or another. That's just fucking arrogance. That's not a legacy. A legacy is your reputation you leave moving forward for future generations. That is a legacy, but a positive note. It's your contributions on the impact you've had on the world and on other people. Having kids is not a legacy. That's your selfish attempt at, you know, immortality. Some people do it for the right reasons because some people actually have kids and it's like an oops situation. They're not focused on leaving a legacy. They're just focused on, oh, shit. I did the nasty and I got pregnant. Well, I can't, you know, make bad decisions. I have to see it through. You know, still a life. Hence, problem solution. So, in conclusion, problems, there's a solution. Look at the problem, analyze it, figure out. I mean, forget about the shock value. Think about if it really is an issue and break it apart. You know, who, what, where, why, you know, all that stuff like that. Break it apart. And then really ask yourself, is it something that requires a lot of my attention and energy? Is it really a big deal in the greater scheme of things? Maybe it's better that you don't even address it and leave it alone. Is it wasted energy where you could be putting that energy somewhere else? But whatever you do, don't just because you put it aside and don't deal with it, if it's not really affecting your life or those that matter around you, eh, maybe it's not a problem after all. Maybe it's not. And the other parts of it, take it piece by piece. That's what I'm doing, piece by piece. I'm running in the red, got the debts building up now because, you know, the world's shitting on me, but I'm like, okay, it sucks. Not happy about it, but I'm not going to surrender to it. Fuck that. I'm not going to surrender to it. I want to do so much more in this life, and I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. I'm going to get through these times, and I'm just going to find that magical equation that's going to resolve the issues. And you can too. So remember that. 99 problems, but giving up is not one of the solutions. All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode of Car Musings. I'm your host, Matt Morgan. As I said, please check out themadmorgan.com. Other than that, keep your integrity in check. Have a great one. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to each other. And that's about it. Love you all. Share me. Tell people. Spread the message. Spread the love. And I will see you next episode. Bye for now.